Hello, we're at Yarra Demurra Centre today. It's the 15th of May 2013. I'm here with Beth Wright. I'm just going to get Auntie Beth to introduce herself. My name's Diane McNaboe and I'm going to be the interviewer for today.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Wright. I'm from Gamilaroi country. My mum was born in Walgett and my dad in Warren. So my dad's a Walgett man and my mum's a Gamilaroi lady. Nan and Pop are both from, on my mum's side, are both from Angeldool, Gamilaroi, Yaliyay country. I have 4 daughters and 6 grandchildren, which I'm very proud of. And I teach Wiradjuri language and Gamilaroi, Yuwallaroi, Yaliyay languages. And my clean thing to do is bush food and medicines. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about health and the different experiences we've had at hospitals in relation to, and with health-related people, in relation to Aboriginal people. So I remember my mum being at Dubbo base. She was an amputee. She had to have a leg cut off through diabetes, as well as on dialysis. And I remember going up there the day after she had her leg cut off. And she said, all of us were in the room. She's had 7 children. And the grandkids, and then the uncles and aunties came because it was a big thing to have that done. And a doctor came into the room and he said to my mum, "Now your mob has to leave, Jenny." And my mum looked, and she was quite astounded. And we didn't know from her reaction was really violent. She wanted to get up out of the bed and go. And we said, "What happened, Mum? What happened?" And she said she was offended by the word mob. And we said, "Well, what happened, Mum?" She said the word mob meant to her being chased down and shot when they shot the Aboriginals. So that's what mob actually meant to her, was we didn't understand, even as her children, we didn't understand how that word mob related to her. She was more, she liked the word tribe and some of those other words, but not in clan and kin, but not mob. So it's a funny thing. I mean, a lot of our people use the word mob, just that one simple word, how the reaction of that one simple word, but not even the family knew. That whole thing with that, So, it was a pretty unusual
Yeah, that's
thing.
Interesting too. And that's that language barrier again.
That's where we get those one word, how it can set somebody off in a different context, in a different path.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've spoken about it with kindergarten's children at school. Well, I had a teacher at school who told the children she had a snow globe and she told the children to shake it. So when it passed around the room, all the children were moving the snow globe up and down, and one little kid actually put it in his pocket. Well, then the teacher dragged him up to the principal's office for stealing, and they called the parents in and the AEO in and the principal in, and he was going to get suspended from school for stealing. But he said, "No, Mum." He said, "The teacher told me to do it." She said, "No, I did not." He said, "Yes, you did." When they asked the teacher what she actually said, she said, "Well, I told him to shake it." So that was a word that just put everything out of context, because to us as Aboriginal people, shake means
to take something. To take something.
So his interpretation of that followed those repercussions, didn't it? Those repercussions down the track.
And that was just a simple language barrier. He did what the teacher told him to do.
That's right.
So he did the right thing.
That's right.
But the teacher didn't realise what she'd said.
That's right. So just even in everyday talking up the front, some people may say words to that effect, which people in the crowd may have a reaction to, because that word means a totally different thing to them. Yeah. So you have words like shake, pinch. Pinch is this, but to us, pinch is also to shake.
To shake, to steal something,
to steal something.
Or to take it.
Yeah, to have a go. The teacher says have a go to 2 little boys. Well, they started fighting.
Yeah.
And she was wondering why, because in our terminology, to have a go means to have a fight.
Yeah.
To give it over.
So you're telling them to have a fight.
Yeah.
So the teacher's got to realise that if she's telling them to have a go, she's telling them to have a fight, not to
try and
do the best at the work.
That's right. That's right. So simple words that have that different terminology. It's very much like so my daughter's going overseas at the end of the year. She's starting to communicate with some of her house parents over there, and our teacher here told her not to say, there are some words that are going to cross-translate, and not to say she's walking around in her thong, because thongs here to us are the shoes we wear, whereas a thong over there is actually like a G-string.
So
it's that total misappropriate. Just that language barrier, that word barrier.
Yeah.
And I mean, the word barrier, you wouldn't think, because you've got 2 different countries, haven't you, Australia and America, whereas in Australia we have a word barrier.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so that's unusual, some of those things. We also have, at a health unit, you also have this 2-patient visit. Over at Dubbo Base, there were signs near the bed saying 2 visitors per patient. Very unusual for Aboriginal people. When we tend to go to the hospital, and if someone's really sick, we go as a whole thing, because then it's seen, we all go together. It's very rare for someone to go 1 or 2s, because then it feels like the rest of the mob that are related to them don't care. So we all go in support of each other for them.
And you need to all go, so it's one to know that auntie or nan or pop or mum's all right.
Yes.
But also so they know that you care about them.
It's different if someone goes up there and says, oh, so-and-so rang or so-and-so said to say hello. Different to our people. We have to see their faces. We have to be able to touch them. So that whole lack of understanding of cultural awareness at hospitals brings a lot of things into play, especially when
it's part of our healing process. That being together is part of our healing process, and helps us be stronger, because we're being stronger for those people that are around us.
That's right. And now we have this loss of Dubbo is a main centre in relation to health. So when women from out west want to have a baby, they've all actually got to come to Dubbo to have their baby. Now that takes it away from their totems, their skin totems and those sort of things, because if you have your baby at home in your hometown where the parents were together and where they were conceived, well, all that becomes their town, that becomes this. But now we're being forced to come down to Dubbo to have our babies, or into bigger centres. We're not allowed to have them at home anymore because of the danger. It's removing away a lot of our cultural
and their links to their country.
Yeah, and our links to country, exactly. So that's playing a major role in a lot of the unbalance in relation to today's Aboriginal people who are trying to link back to their communities. Whereas we say to them, you can link back to where I say to my children, Dubbo is not your skin, Gadooga is your skin, because that's where mum and dad were together at the time. And basically, old people talk about where you were conceived, more back to that, really back to the grassroots of their totems, isn't it? So,
and they'll always go back to where you was born.
That's right. Yeah, where the parents were together. The Gadooga has more importance to them than actually the Dubbo significance, even though they were born here. It's still that, but
they'll still say you're born in Dubbo.
Yeah,
you're born. You're Rajri. You were born in Rajri country.
That's right. That's what they will say. You see, whereas their links are Gamilaroi.
You belong here, but you were born there.
My clean thing to do is bush food and medicines, and I often do talks for a lot of people, and I go to Sydney and do some talks with the big doctors and all that. And it's really unusual that you'll spread this beautiful display of bush food and medicines out in front of them, including like toothache tree, sore eye tree, contraceptive tree, all these trees. And the only trees that they're interested in are the ones they're not allowed to know about. You will tell them that they can't write it down. Some people will get huffy and fluffy and walk out. That's their prerogative. An Aboriginal person, that's fine. If they're our old people, if they're disrespectful to our old people would walk out. But if they choose not to sit there, not to write it down, or don't want to write it down and walk out, that's up to them. That's their loss. They don't get a second chance.
That's where we had that conversation about not putting the name of those onto the jars of that where they could get them.
Yes.
And they could be misused.
That's right. So
either by those medical people or by our own people.
That's right. So there, we have our heavy narcotic trees and our heavy drug trees, and when I do my talk, although I share the knowledge of the other trees, the names, I don't say those ones to anybody. So, and they think just because they've got all these letters behind their name, or they're studying to be doctors, or they're this professor, or they're that professor, that they have the right to have that. They don't.
No.
They don't understand our way in relation to that. That belongs to a clan, that belongs to a certain family, or a certain group of people. It is not theirs.
Yeah.
And that same mentality comes from a school as well. The education department thinks that when a child goes to school that they've got to be able to learn this and that and be good at all of those, whereas traditionally we were good at what we needed to be good at. Not everybody knew everything, because then you didn't need the rest of the tribe to lean on, did you?
And it's the same as the school and the Department of Education and TAFE and universities and that. They think if you talk about some of your knowledge and stuff there, that they have ownership of it.
Yes.
And the only people that have ownership of it are the traditional people that it's come from.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
When I share the knowledge, I don't teach
Yeah.
bush food and medicines because it's not mine to teach. Because then if you do teach it, the people who learn it are allowed to go off and then teach it. No. We share the knowledge of it.
We share it with them as caretakers and guardians of that knowledge, but not as teachers of that knowledge.
Yeah. And people think that if they pay you for your services, that then they're still entitled to write it all down or have it written down somewhere. No. And that's that lack of understanding of the real Aboriginal culture. It's not us being greedy with our knowledge, it's us taking after it, looking after it, making sure
and because of those things, a lot of our older people will stop that sharing.
Yes, big time.
Yeah, they will stop
massive loss.
Yeah, massive and loss, then it's massive loss for the rest of the community as a whole because of their greedy ways.
Some greedy people, yes.
Yeah, greedy ways. The old people have had to say, no, you need to stop now because they're getting too greedy and they're actually trying to take that information as their own when it's not.
That's right. Yeah. So it's interesting when there's a whole cultural lesson in that learning of that. Another thing with the education system, I remember I went into there was a relief teacher on the Aboriginal Studies class in one of the schools, and it was my free period, double period, and I said, okay, well I'll go up and sit in on a class and help her because she's a relief teacher. So I go up and she's on YouTube, showing the girls some things on YouTube and all having a good giggle. I get the books out of the cupboard and I start handing them around and they're still there on YouTube, having a giggle, and another thing on YouTube comes up and they start giggling and I ask all the kids to get their pens out and I'm still standing up the front waiting, and she finishes that YouTube and she puts another one on. So I get up and I walk down to class and I go down and sit in my room. Not long after, the principal comes flying down. What are you doing? And I said, I'm having my free period. She said, well, you were up in that class. I said, I was up in that class, and I went up to help her. But she was too thin trying to be a friend to the kids and entertain the girls instead of worrying about the rest of the class.
And doing the teaching,
I walked out because an elder would have walked out.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't have said as long as, or stood as long as what you did.
No.
Because, one, it was disrespectful.
Yes.
When that person was in there to help with the teaching, you got on with the teaching. You didn't ignore that person.
No.
It was considered being ignorant towards a person.
She felt that I was neglecting her and that I didn't do my job, whereas my own free time to go up and offer my services for that. And that's what I said to the principal. That was not my time. This is my time. I'm entitled to my time and I'm having my time. She's got to learn a lesson. And the only way for that woman to learn that lesson was for her to sit up there with that class for the next 2 periods to try to find something for them to do.
Yeah.
But that's the only way for her to learn. So the next time I went up there, she was ready.
Yeah, and she learned a lesson.
She learned a lesson. Now, if I'd have ran back up there, I don't believe she'd have learned a lesson.
No.
Old people would not have done it that way.
What she would have learned is if she says something to the principal
that I'd run.
then you get in trouble.
That's right.
That she could get you into trouble instead of pulling herself up.
And at the time, what had happened also was that my daughter, who was in the same class, she came with me. And the principal came flying down and she said, well, she's got to go back up to class. And I said, well, I pulled her out for a certain reason. I feared that when I left, the kids would say something and my daughter would react.
Yeah.
So I feared for her safety in that context. I said, so if you don't want her down here with me and I don't want her up there because I won't think of repercussions, you've got to take her back to your room.
Yeah. And I remember that incident because you was also concerned about your daughter only looking at YouTube and not doing her learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you took her to do some learning rather than leave her in there just watch YouTube.
Yeah. There was another incident education-wise. So my daughter's in high school at the senior campus. And a bit of, hairy fairness got happening in this Aboriginal Studies class. And there's an AEO sitting in the room, not an AEO, a tutor, Aboriginal tutor sitting in the room. And the daughter got very wild and she stood up to come outside. And the teacher said to her, non-Aboriginal people know more about Aboriginal culture than Aboriginal people. So she was very upset. I was upset. So she rang us up and up we go to the school and organised a meeting with the teacher and the tutor and the head of that department and the principal. And what she said, my daughter said, was she was upset that the teacher said that for one, but two, that the tutor, AE tutor, sat there and said nothing. That's what she was set up.
Yeah.
She said, Mum, she said to the tutor, in our meeting, she stood up at 15 and said to the tutor, I was upset that you said nothing. Which in that context is right, isn't it? Like, they sat there and she said, well, I'm sorry that you were upset that I didn't say anything. But so shouldn't she have said something in that context, you know? So why my daughter got upset, but then the other people sat there and didn't say anything.
Yeah. It could have been that person was too upset herself.
Well, I think she didn't understand how that had upset people. That's what that was her reply. She didn't understand how that upset those kids in that class. Yeah. Which is really good. I don't know, different upbringing.
I had a similar incident where I was at a school and I was at a school and I got called in. We had this young fella coming in, young teacher climbing up, and he was coming and learning our knowledge off us, asking us stuff. And we were sharing with him because we thought, what a lovely young man. He wants to know about Aboriginal people. He wants to learn from us. And then we got called into the deputy's office, me and this other Aboriginal lady, and that young fella was in the deputy's office as well. And he said, I want you two ladies to pay attention to so-and-so, I won't say his name, so-and-so, because he's an expert on Aboriginal people because he's been to the mission in Broken Hill. And we both looked at one another and were just so offended and so upset we couldn't even talk to the deputy. We were so upset with him that he would say that in this day and age and so offended. And then we were so upset with that young fella that he would use coming to learn stuff off us to use that for climbing the ladder and what we call big noting, making himself seem more important than anybody else, which is another thing that we don't like as Aboriginal people, someone big noting and making themselves have more importance than anybody else. Right. So that was another similar incident.
So I had my second daughter who attended one of the schools here. There was a bit of a schmozzle in a gym, and a young girl, non-Aboriginal girl, had thrown a bag across the room when she was doing sport. So there's only 2 Aboriginal girls in that room at the time, and this girl's phone went missing. So the next day, the 2 girls, including my daughter, was one of them, was called up to the principal's office to say that they had stolen that phone. And my daughter, we got a phone call and had to get up to the school in a hurry because the second daughter is very aggro. So we get up there and we think, she's never in trouble sort of thing. So this was unusual. So we get up there and the principal said, I have to suspend your daughter. And we're saying, okay, what's the issue? And they explained, and I said, okay, now, so we brought the daughter in and she had said something. We said, well, okay, what's your opinion? And she said, he said, well, she swore at me. That's why she's getting suspended. He said, we can't prove that they took the phone, but she swore at me. And she said, no, Mum. She said, I didn't swear at him. She said, when they accused us of that, she said, I stood up, I walked out, I said, and you can all get effed. She said, I didn't swear directly at him. And he said, I worked out at Burke and I worked here and I worked there with a big Aboriginal population of school kids. He said, and I know when she's swearing at me. I said, did she stand you there, look you in the eye and say those words to you? He said, no, she walked away. I said, she wasn't swearing at you. She was swearing at the system. I said, if an Aboriginal person wants to swear at you, they will stand there, look you in the eye, poke fingers and everything else, but will swear at you directly.
And that's what a lot of non-Aboriginal people don't realise. They say to the kids, Aboriginal child, I want you to look at me when I'm talking to you. And for them to look at you, if they look at you, you know they're being disrespectful to you. Once you've got an Aboriginal child that's looking at you, if they've got their head down and not looking at you, they're showing you respect. Yes. They're showing you respect and they're sorry for what they've done. Yep. But once they look you in the eye, they no longer have that respect for you. They've lost it for you.
Yeah, because they can't.
And you as a teacher, have not gained anything. No. You have lost a big heap of yards.
And that's with those where Aboriginal children. That when she walked away, she wasn't swearing at him. And then he couldn't prove, she couldn't get suspended because he could not prove that she swore at him, which she didn't.
And her walking away was actually kind of like showing him respect in not looking at him and swearing directly at him, because if our people are swearing at someone, they'll look them straight at them.
And you'll know, that's right, that's the difference.
So there's a difference.
But even though he said he'd worked in a lot of Aboriginal communities, which a lot of people use as a form of their cultural awareness.
Yeah.
But he still, I said,
he hadn't gained anything really.
No, he couldn't prove it. He couldn't prove it. She wasn't allowed to be suspended. The next day...
But he hadn't gained anything from working in them Aboriginal centres because he hadn't realised that when they walk away and they're not looking directly at you...
It's more a form of respect.
Yeah, it's more a form of respect that they're not...
They found the phone. They found the phone a day later. Neither of them two girls had it.
Yeah.
But the second girl, what did she do? Well, when she was accused of it, she walked over and punched a girl in the face against a brick wall. So she got suspended.
Yeah.
But there's two ways the Aboriginal people react.
Yeah.
Either they will walk away from it, very angry, or they will physically fight it.
Yeah.
You know? But we, us as parents, if there's an issue with our child, we're there at the school in relation to that.
And when they see a lot of Aboriginal kids walk away like that, they see it as an aggressive move.
Yeah.
And it's not an aggressive move. It's the exact opposite.
It's the best move. It's our way.
And they're trying to get themselves away from that situation and I don't know, calm themselves down and get themselves back in that space.
Yeah, and they're dealing with it.
They're trying to deal with it.
And then you also have, like, in education systems where I had a teacher ring me up. Oh, no, my daughter came home. She said, Mum, I was calling the principal's office this afternoon. I was supposed to be selling drugs. And me and my husband looked at each other and thinking, what? We live across the road from the school. We live across the road. We're on the PNC. We're on the AECG at the time. We're on all the committees. We were there at every school function, every parent-teacher night. And yet they called her in at 13 or 14 accusing her of selling alfoil things with powder in it, which was only talcum powder anyway, but she wasn't doing it. So we went over to the school and said, why did you not contact us? We live across the road. We're there at every meeting. Why did you not contact us? Especially in such an important factor of things.
Yeah.
You know, and they said, well, every time a student gets in trouble here, we do not contact the parents.
Yeah, but something like where it's to deal with
if it's on
drugs, you want to know.
If it's on a record, we want to know. If it's on a record, we want to know.
Yeah.
You know, so they think, and then you get, so your daughter starts school in term 1, and then you get a report come home in term 2 to say they're struggling. You know, the next daughter had an essay due in January. Sorry, had to read a book over the holidays, and it was due back in when they started school back in January. So April, I get a call to say the daughter hasn't completed this book. April. So we go up to the school and what's going on here? They said, well, she hasn't completed the book. And I said, well, why weren't we called in January? We're on all these. Why are we on all these committees? Why are we showing our interest to our child? And now 4 months has gone past and they're sending us home this note to say your child is struggling. Your child didn't get her essay in. Sure, ring us. That's what the modern technology of phones are for. Yeah, that's what really, it bugs you, doesn't it? That those things are still happening today. Yeah. But we don't call every parent.
Yeah, but Aboriginal people are truly interested in their kids' education.
That's right, and not just the bad side all the time.
No, and they do want to know, look, we haven't received any of your the homework from your child. If they'd let you know straight away,
you could do it.
You could jump on them and try to help and support them.
That's right, not 4 months later. Yeah. What we found out was she struggled reading the book because it was a play and it was very hard to read it, whereas she ordered the gizmos that go into the modern day technology, which read it for her. Yeah. So then she understood it better. But she got that in January and she'd finished it by February. So then as soon as we dealt with that, the next day we get, your daughter's doing really well. It's ridiculous.
So So that was pretty hard. One day you get one saying she's not doing well and struggling and not handing in homework, and then you get another one the next day saying she's doing well.
That's right. And then you get one principal in saying this to you, DP, and then you get the head teacher coming in saying this, and you're really very confused. So if the child's confused, how the hell do the parents feel about it all? Yeah. You get those, and you get a lot of younger school kids in the lower grades when they only get their report cards, we found your child is struggling in December. You're finding my child is struggling in December. Yeah. Where was it all this year? Instead of.
And they would have been struggling all year, not just in December.
Right. And with our people, if we're going to discipline, we have to discipline directly. As soon as something happens, not a month later, not 3 weeks later, directly, because that child, our Aboriginal children are responsible for what they're doing now, aren't they? They're responsible for what they're doing now. Yeah. So all those things happening.
And I think that's a bit of a language thing too, because when we talk, we always talk in the now.
Now, yes. Well, we only, as Aboriginal people, we talk about the past and now. The future, that's not really.
It's not a fixed future.
For us, no, isn't it? We plan certain things for the future, but not a lot. Whereas, because the food that we had was here and now, everything was here and now. And yes, there were things that float around for next year, but not. And
they never talk about future because you never know when family or kinship things come into it that influence it. So if there's a funeral or a family situation comes up where you have to go to, you can't just plan the future. So in forms of in Aboriginal culture, it's aspect of future tense. It's not really future tense.
That's right.
Because we have all these other family commitments that can come in and change the future.
Yeah.
So we never have a definite future. Like in English, it's a definite future.
Right.
We'll do this. And,
but it's very hard when you get Aboriginal kids into a careers talk and they're going to ask them what job are you going to do in the future. A lot of them aren't thinking about that. Because a lot of our culture is the here and now.
Yeah, and they know there's a lot of family influences.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crossroads there for them in between, which are not only Australian society ones, as our cultural ones.
Yeah.
In that context as well, isn't it? Okay, we'll keep going. My mum was a diabetic, as I explained, and my dad had really bad emphysema, which is what we lost both of them from their diseases. And I remember my little nephew going to school, to preschool, and he got up and said for news one day, my nan shoots up and my pop's got a bong. So that afternoon, the police landed at mum and dad's doorstep, coming in and said, Liam, the nephew, said that someone was shooting up and someone had a bong. Well, my mum's a diabetic, so she was actually putting a needle in herself for diabetes, and Pop had a gas mask on for his emphysema. So it was just that that was their way of when kids see the local news or something like that and they talk about shooting up and those sort of things, that was his interpretation of what Nan was doing, whereas it was not a drug situation, more of what was happening at the home.
Yeah, it was just their own health.
I think another really important factor to be aware of is our English, the way we speak. So I remember
we're just continuing with our interview.
Sorry.
We just got waylaid by Dort going up the hallway.
I needed to stop her.
Yeah, so
she's got jobs she's got to do.
By Beth's daughter.
That going to people's places and actually going inside. If you're offered a cup of tea or you're offered to come inside, I'm not saying you have to go to everybody's place and always do that, but at least go inside, because to us our home is our castle, and that it may not be as flash as some, but it is still our home. It's still our castle.
Yeah, and it's special to us.
And never judge.
Yeah.
Don't judge those houses. That's the way people choose to live. Another thing I understand is dogs. A lot of non-Aboriginal people get very offended by the amount of dogs some Aboriginal people have in their homes, and that does sidetrack onto other things that come with the dogs. But our people will always have dogs in a majority of cases. I've got house dogs who are outside all day, but I have them inside at night, and that's because I've always grown up with dogs, little ones, always had them, and I feel very comforted that my 18-year-old daughter has a dog in her room, because we're at one end of the house and she's up the other. But I feel comfortable that she's got someone there to protect her if we can't hear things. But dogs are an important part of our culture. They let us know when sickness is coming, and they are a part of our family. And our dogs are just as important to us as, in the majority of cases, as our children. They become a part of our life, don't they? Part of our children. So if you ever attend Aboriginal person's home, that dog that is there is just as important as the people that you're going to visit.
Because you were saying that the dogs let you know when sickness is coming as well.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more on that?
Okay, so apparently 3 days before, a dog's senses are 1,000 times stronger than ours. And 3 days before sickness comes, a dog will pick up sickness first. So he'll start to vomit and eat grass, or start, getting sniffles. So if his eyes start to run and he starts to cough and sneeze, in 3 days' time the flu's coming. So that was a thing for us to then go out and get all the medicines we needed to prepare ourselves for the flu. So we're going to get our eucalyptus leaves, make a big fire, put all our huts around the fire and breathe in the eucalyptus leaves, healing us. But it's the dogs that gave us that signal beforehand. I had a 94-year-old auntie who lived in Walgett. She was only a little lady. She had 15 dogs. And the auntie said the reason why she lived so long was the dogs took the sickness away from her. Some of those dogs were nearly as tall as her, but they took the sickness away before it got to her. So how magnificent is that? And to her dogs were just as important to her as they were her children. Every single one of them dogs, all 15 of them, she had a name for all of them, some really funny names, but they helped her. They were her survival. So unusual, isn't it? And that's where dogs are. The houses that we have didn't really cater for our dogs, that sort of thing. So housing was an important thing. Traditionally, we would have not built on Mother Earth. So we would have built our shelter the nights and then collapsed that shelter the next day because you weren't allowed to put a permanent fixture on Mother Earth, which was why when Captain Cook first came and he looked around, there was no farming land, there was no houses built, and that's why he said, oh, no one lives here, no one owns this. Because of that European mentality of they own the land and they will deal with it. Our mentality of the land owns us and we have to look after Mother Earth. So the housing thing was not a permanent thing, it was out of the ordinary. Or we found a cave or something that had already been created for that purpose, didn't we?
Yeah, and I know around here when we built our traditional huts, we built out the villa, the she oaks. And because there was a lot of young shoots all coming up together, what they did, they used to cut the middle out of the circle and then get the ones then left over, pull them over,
and tie them together.
And then use the bits that they cut out to weave in and out to make the sides and stuff.
So nothing was wasted.
Nothing was wasted.
And it still grew. Growing.
They were still growing, and when it got too big and it was likely they were going to damage the trees, they'd just cut it then and let them keep growing.
That's right.
And those trees were stronger then because they'd had the other ones cut out around them.
That's right, yeah.
It was a conservation thing.
That's right, and then they didn't starve them of the nutrients that it needed because the other ones were actually removed but still used. Yeah. So our housing situation. Okay, our kinship. An important part of kinship is a respect, and I've encountered a lot of issues in relation to non-Aboriginal people with respect, and some Aboriginal people. Teachers, for example, a teacher has come to me in a school situation and said, those kids up there in my class don't respect me. And I said, okay, I'll come and have a talk to them. So I'll get up in the classroom and the teacher outside, I said, okay guys, why don't you respect that teacher? She's a nice lady. And they said, Aunt, we were walking down the street the other day and we said, hello, miss, and she just walked past us with her head in the air with her friends or her family. So I called her in, I said, miss, I explained to her what the kid said, and she said, oh, yeah, I don't speak to the children outside the school.
Yeah.
So I said, well, then, I didn't make a holy thing of it in front of the class. I took, next period I got to have free with her, I had a yarn to her. I said, well, that is a form of disrespect to us. It is a form of disrespect.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want these kids to respect you,
and that was a big thing for the kids to acknowledge her outside of school.
Yes.
And to say hello to her.
That's right, but now they won't. Now they don't anymore because they aren't going to be embarrassed or made a fool of in front of other people. Yeah. She thought just because the fact that she was a teacher, she'd done 5 years of schooling to get to be a teacher, and she had all these letters behind her name because she was a teacher, that she demanded respect. Not in Aboriginal culture.
No, you've got to earn it.
The only way to get your respect is to earn it. That's right. It's not given to you. You've got to show. If you show a child respect, they're going to respect you. I teach a lot in correctional centres and jails, and the teachers say, how come those boys respect you? I said, because I respect them. I may be the teacher up front teaching today, but they are no one here is any more important than each other. They've got something that they can teach me, and I've got something that I can share with them. Nobody is more important. Just because you have letters after your name does not make you more important than that people have to demand respect. No, not in Aboriginal culture.
No.
And that is something really, really big that not a lot of people understand.
Yeah, I don't think non-Aboriginal people realise that you've got to earn that respect.
Yes.
even though they're their kids and they could be little kids, if you don't earn that respect from them, you won't get it back.
No, that's right. I mean, when I went to school in Walgett, I was only two Aboriginal people that finished year 12. I was one of them. And my classmates wouldn't talk to me downtown. Non-Aboriginal kids would not talk to me downtown in front of their families. Yet Monday morning, Aunt, can you help me write this essay? Monday morning, you know? Then I started teaching at schools around this area, and the teachers I had the same issue with the teachers. You'd walk downtown, and the teachers wouldn't say hello, or you say hello, and they wouldn't acknowledge you, or look away really fast pretending to be doing something else. We read body language, we know. We're the best readers of body language. So come Monday morning, you're at school and the teachers are can you come in my class? I need you in my class today. Oh no, I need you in my class. It didn't have the respect for me downtown that weekend. How do you think we feel? You know, we know.
And you had the respect to them by saying hello to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, that still happens. A lot of teachers say, oh, I didn't know I was allowed to talk to you downtown. Or they've got all the excuses in the book. We know all the excuses because we've heard them.
And we pick that body language up really quickly that really they don't really want nothing or anything to do with you.
When they're outside.
They just want something to do with you, to use you at school.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that, as a form of respect part, is an important tool that needs to be learnt before you can communicate, I suppose, with Aboriginal people and Aboriginal kids. Yeah. It's an important tool. And it's not a lot of them know it.
No.
Okay. Our clan things to do, mine is bush food and medicines and teaching. I've been teaching since I was 5. I'm one of the eldest of 23 cousins, and every weekend we'd have the 23 cousins sleeping in our lounge room, and I had to create games for them throughout the week so that they could all get off in their little groups and play in their little age groups. So a natural teacher. But there are things I don't do. I don't do dancing, only Di does dancing. I don't do painting, I don't do singing. So I concentrate all my energy into bush food and medicines and into language as part of my teaching process. But there are things we block our minds off to. And that's a lot of our Aboriginal kids have that as a blocking system. So when they go to school, they're English, maths, science, all these other things that they're going to do at school, they may be good at one, and then they will really concentrate on that one, because that's the one that makes them feel good. Because our learning skill is not divided into all of them, is it? Our learning skill is concentrate on the couple of the ones that are part of your clean thing to do. And that's why the school system really doesn't cater for us, our learning ways of doing those things. Ab studies. Most of our kids take up Aboriginal studies because, 1, they know that's something that they're passionate about, and 2, their parents can sort of help them with it when they go home. But 3, it's their learning, it's something they really want to do. Whereas science, maths and all those other things, sometimes are too overwhelming, and they concentrate on one thing. Part of our clan thing to do. It's not, there's some things that you just don't do.
Yeah, and that's where no one person was good at everything.
And you needed the whole tribe to be a unit for it to work.
Yeah, and each different person if they had that skill or knowledge in that area, then that's what was focused on.
That's right, yeah. And I've got 7 brothers and sisters. I had 7 brothers and sisters. And they're all got different things that they do. One sister married a dancer. She's taken on dancing and learning dancing. One sister married a painter. She's taken on painting. Okay, my husband's family is to do with the bush food and medicines. So, it all becomes what you become good at later. It's not a little bit of good of everything. Because it's not part of, it burns you out as a one thing, doesn't it? It really burns you out because everybody needs you, everybody wants you, and you want to be a part of that, but it burns you. So you have to limit and concentrate on the things that you're good at. I remember some of my family are in singing groups, and a couple of the girls had to go overseas and perform as Aboriginal performers. And that was how it was advertised out front, and people came in this big auditorium, and they were all, over 500 people came in to hear them sing. When they saw that they were in lap-laps, using didgeridoos and clapsticks, not the girls would use didgeridoos, but the boys that were with them, some of the spectators walked out because they actually expected the stereotype Aboriginal people to be up there in their laps, playing the didgeridoo and performing that way. Not Aboriginal girls who had beautiful the harmony voices, singing some really beautiful songs, sometimes in language, sometimes not. But some people got up and walked out because they expected the stereotype Aboriginal people up the front. Very typical of Aboriginal art, isn't it? You advertise Aboriginal art,
and even lap laps weren't a traditional clothing.
No, that's right.
It was what non-Aboriginal people put on Aboriginal people say.
They cover the body parts.
The body parts.
Yeah. And Aboriginal art. You put up Aboriginal art and they say, oh, no, it's not Aboriginal art. It's not what was I expecting. You know, but who, like Albert Namatjira stuff. Who's to say he's an Aboriginal man who painted this, so that is to us Aboriginal art. Yeah. Whereas to a lot of people that isn't. You know, so that the whole stereotype image around Aboriginal art, Aboriginal music, Aboriginal performers, we get very offended when people say that is not Aboriginal art, but an Aboriginal person done it. So to us, it is Aboriginal art. I remember a school teacher saying, because I'm Aboriginal, and they said I was teaching the language, and they said, "Oh, can you teach this bunch of girls dancing, Aboriginal dancing?" And I put it so I said, "I can't." She said, "You're Aboriginal." She said, "You can teach them. You can teach them." And I said, "I can't teach them because Aboriginal dancing is not part of my clan thing to do." But they could not accept that. They could not figure out, And then I had another group, can you do this Aboriginal painting? All it is dots. They should be able to do that. And I said, I can't. And it's not my clean thing to do.
No, and it's not from our country anyway. It's a desert mob.
Their whole interpretation, isn't it, though, of if you're an Aboriginal person, well, you can do all these things because you're an Aboriginal person, you can do them. Yeah. So that terminology of it all really can offend some people. Can offend. And they're not realising how it offends them.
And I do the dance and I can do the weaving. But I'm not someone to do the teaching of the weaving. That's not my role. It's not my role to teach the weaving.
So that's where...
It's my role to teach the dance.
You're very comfortable with the weaving in yourself. I can draw, but I can draw within myself to do it. But I'm not going to go out there and draw for somebody else.
And I can do the weaving and I'm comfortable in doing the weaving. But I'm not someone that is the teacher of the weaving. So it's not my role to teach that weaving.
So isn't it unusual that... But you get the people out there who just normally think that, you're an Aboriginal person. You can do this. Another thing of the kinship thing was my nan. My nan, when she was growing up on the... she was apprenticed out to a property halfway between Lightning Ridge and Walgett. And part of our cultural thing is not to sweep after dark. After the sun goes down, Aboriginal people did not sweep, because sweeping meant you were disturbing the people who were buried into Mother Earth. And every night my nan would put the broom down when the sun went down and she wouldn't clean after dark. Well, every night she'd get a beating. They'd say, can you sweep? She'll say no. So she'd get a beating on her back. She'd get the whip on her back. Not long after, the elders came around to check on her, and the mission manager said, look, she's a great worker during the day, but she's lazy and dirty and at night just won't do anything at night. And they said, well, what do you mean? They said, she won't sweep. And the elder said, no, because we don't sweep at night. So we were very fortunate that Nan, that the mission manager at the time, who could be quite nasty at his time, understood that there was a cultural barrier there. He knew that Nan was a good worker. So he organised with her that she got up earlier in the morning and swept when the sun came up, before the rest of the workers got up, before the house got up. Not after the sun went down.
And that was
better.
It
was a cultural difference, wasn't it?
It was lucky that he did understand that cultural difference.
A lot of them didn't, did they? So the whole lesson there, and that is the cultural responsibility and cultural boundaries, cultural superstitions, isn't it? I often have aunties rouse, and if you go to their door, knocking on their door really loud at night, you get in trouble because you're making that loud noise at night and disturbing the spirits, the bad spirits. So, all that in our cultural way of learning, our cultural awareness. And a lot of our kids
and a lot of the times when they wanted you in the house at night, it was because those spirits and that were out there, and that big devil dog and other things were out wandering around.
Hairy man and all that, the ones you were told about, the old, and a lot of our superstitions and stories evolve around that being in before dark. Not allowed to see the moon's reflection on the water, or the bunyip will get those sort of things. So that meant don't be down near the water hole, at night when the moon's, be home before the moon gets to the water.
Yeah.
Wow. So you knew that. So that was a terminology they asked both about not long ago when I was.
And definitely don't go swimming at night.
Oh, and then some of those people lay down the water swimming at night or skinny dipping or something. No, that's not part of the cultural thing. Wow. So the beauty of it. Even, and a lot of movies and those sort of things don't have that cultural awareness component to it, do they? Like, I think after the movie Australia, some people allowed Nicole Kidman to play this didgeridoo. Wow. Women don't play the didgeridoo.
No.
And then when someone asked the elders why they did that, they said, well, she's not Aboriginal. But to me, I still would not give an authority to anyone to play, any female to play black or white.
No.
So,
and we wouldn't have done that.
No.
We probably would have handed her clapsticks.
Yeah, exactly. So,
or clapping boomerangs or something.
So it's just for a photo shot.
Yeah.
Or just for a thing. That was incorrect.
Yeah.
To us. So I'm not saying that the elder who gave permission that's incorrect. That's their thing. But wow, it's just for a photo opportunity or to make money out of or any of those things there.
And for a lot of Aboriginal people, they would have been offended with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're very offended by that.
Yeah.
So, all that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for that, Beth. And I'll just get you to switch off that paying machine for me. I've got the record on there now.
Okay, so you're recording?
Hello, it's the 10th of May 2013. I'm at Yarradamurra Centre, TAFE Dubbo, and I'm with Beth Wright. And I'm going to let Beth introduce herself. My name's Diane McNaboe, and I'll be the interviewer for the day.
Okay, my name's Elizabeth Wright. I'm 48. I'm from Walgett, a Gamilaroi lady. My family are the Simpsons and Sands on my mother's side, and the Peachy, Grinoways and Wrights on my dad's side. My mum's from Walgett, Nan's from Angeldool, and my dad's family's from Warren. I'd like to be known as Auntie Beth. The reasons why I ask people to call me Auntie Beth are for two reasons. My auntie, who's the eldest in my clan, has given me permission to be called Auntie Beth, based on the fact that I'm now the eldest in my family. So I've lost my mum, my dad and my eldest brother, and I'm now the eldest in my family. I also get called Auntie Beth because I actually teach Aboriginal languages, Aboriginal culture, bush food and medicines. So as a form of respect, I ask people to call me Auntie Beth. Okay.
And you don't really ask people to call you Auntie Beth, they just call you that.
Yeah, it's a natural thing.
Out of respect because of your knowledge.
Yeah, I actually work at a juvenile justice centre, and the principal came in to me last week and he said, Beth, and I turned around and said yes. He said, I feel so uncomfortable calling you Beth, can I call you Auntie Beth? And he's older and he's not Aboriginal, and so to me that was a form of respect, that he actually understood Aboriginal culture for one, and two, it made him uncomfortable to direct me as Beth. So that was a good thing. Another scenario was I work in a school, and when I first started working, a teacher said to me, how would you like to be introduced to this class? And I said, I'd like to be introduced as Auntie Beth. And the teacher said, we don't do those things here. So she actually introduced me as Miss Wright. Within minutes, the kids were calling me Auntie Beth, because I knew most of them. I'd work with them on the weekends at netball, or they were the same age as my daughter. So the lesson there was that if that's the terminology of how we want to be addressed, Miss does not mean anything to me. What means more to me is the word auntie. So even though in her terminology the Miss and Mr. and Mrs. was very important to her, it wasn't to me. So I think there's an important scenario there that can be used.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a language barrier.
Yes.
There that they didn't understand.
Yeah. Well, I think in her context, I think it had more to do with her showing power, her wanting to be more powerful, and she came across as that during my time I spent at that school.
Yeah. Auntie Beth, can I get you to move that way a little bit, because you've got the sun shining on your head, and while it looks real neat, people might get a bit scared thinking you've got these auras hanging around you.
Okay.
That's good now.
Okay. Yeah. Some early childhood memories of education. I started school at Walgett in 1970. Prior to that, it was a lot of children, Aboriginal children, were not allowed to attend the local schools. It was not permitted. So they actually attended the Catholic mission schools, which the missionaries ran on the missions. So in a lot of contexts, a lot of our people missed out on going to school because of the objection from the local community. I remember my mum telling me how she wasn't allowed to achieve her best at school, otherwise she would be removed from that school. So if she got the best in spelling, better the other kids in the class, she'd be removed, or the parents would object to her being there. If she beat them at athletics or running races, she'd ask to be removed. So they just didn't try to achieve their best, so that to show up the other non-Aboriginal kids that were in the school.
Yeah, just so that they'd be able to go to school.
Just to be able to stay at school. Yeah. So she's the fifth in line out of 11 children. So the older ones actually, missed out on a lot more of that. I remember my mum one day saying how they had an athletics carnival the day before, and she'd won a couple of races. So the next day she got to school, and the non-Aboriginal kids were jumping rope. And as they started jumping the rope, they sang a little song for my mum, and it said, "God made Jenny, they made her in the night, made her in a hurry, forgot to paint her white." So even though my mum's experiences at school, Mum enjoyed school. She actually became one of the first AEOs in New South Wales, the Aboriginal Education Officers, workers. And she showed us how important school was to us as a family. I've got 7 brothers and sisters. They had hard times in relation to going to school. When I first started school in 1970, it was still compulsory to shower Aboriginal children before they went into the classrooms. And being the eldest girl in a family of 7, I often got to school late because we'd clean while Mum and Dad had to go to work early in the morning. We were left with the duties of cleaning up, getting the other kids off to school, making sure everybody had lunch, and I'd always be running late getting to school. So by the time I got into the showers, especially in winter, the showers were cold, freezing. We'd run out of hot water, but it was still compulsory that we had a shower. So often, we'd get sick because of those cold showers. But I don't know, what they didn't understand or didn't want to understand was that we actually had a shower before we left home. We'd have a bath. So...
yeah, and they'd have to re-bath you.
Yeah, just to show that you'd actually had a bath, But not only the Aboriginal kids were bathed, not the non-Aboriginal kids.
Yeah. We had an incident when I was a kid. We were going away to the Warren Bungles, and we were with the police boys club at that time. And a group of us kids were going away, and my dad wanted to borrow the sleeping bags from the Police Citizens Boys Club at that stage. And they wouldn't allow us to borrow them. And they said, if you borrow them, you have to make sure they're disinfected and cleaned and sterilised before you bring them back. Yeah. And because of that, Dad used money that he didn't have to go and buy us sleeping bags. Yeah. I think he had to beg, borrow and steal just to get us sleeping bags because he was so offended in what they said about us kids.
Yeah. And often there's stories of... hiring buses, and of course the hiring company will take that money for the bus, and when the buses get back they disinfect them, or they really go through the buses when Aboriginal people hire them. So a whole point beyond that. Did you ever get checked with the head lice at school? We did. Every day. Yeah, every day. It was a morning thing. As soon as you had your shower and everything, and you went back into the classroom, it was a matter.
And did they use the rulers on you to check your hair?
Yep.
So that was regular.
Or a bobby pin. They part with the bobby pins. So they didn't have to touch the scalp. You didn't have a lot of contact with teachers in relation to touching. There was that, they didn't touch you at all sort of thing, whereas in our culture, touching is an important part of us growing up.
Because Connie was saying they checked her hair for the nits with the 2 rulers. They always had the 2 rulers so they didn't have to touch your hair. And but she said they also used to do it in front of the non-Aboriginal kids, in front of the teaching staff and everything. So it was degrading that
Yes.
it was done to you in front of everybody.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then we also, none of the non-Aboriginal kids are actually checked for head lice. And
No.
we knew for a fact, that they had them. So,
Yeah.
And then you were given the notes at the end of the day if you had head lice to take home, and everybody knew if you got a note because it was handed out in general.
Yeah, and you weren't allowed back at school until you'd
They could prove that there.
well, if you came back early, they'd still check your hair with
Yeah.
the rulers again.
That's right.
In front of everyone.
Whereas my mum always, she'd go to the school and she'd say, look, I'm the best money hunter there is. She said, my kids haven't got any nets, so we were,
Yeah.
I was one of the...
And muni's is your word for nets. Head lice in your country.
Yeah, head lice in Gamilaroi, muni's, gullinches.
Yeah.
I was one of the only Aboriginal kids to finish Year 12 in 1983 at Walgett High School. I remember doing not home science, one of the social science classes, and I had a teacher called Mr. White, pretty appropriate name for him. He didn't like me very much because I still had that process of having to get up early. I was always late for school in the morning, and you'd go to the principal. If you were late, you'd get a letter off the principal, and that you'd tell the principal why you were late. Then you'd get your note, then off you'd go to your class, and then you'd hand the note over. This teacher didn't like me very much. He was sick of me being late and all that. And I didn't have to explain to him why I was late every day, but I did. And one day he said to me, see those other Aboriginal kids in this class over there sitting? And I said, yes. He said, you're going to get a lot further than they are. And I couldn't understand his whole reason why he said that. And I said, well, why do you think that? He said, because of your colour of your skin. He said, you have very light skin compared to those dark-skinned children over there. And his thoughts were that I should be very proud of the colour of my skin. Whereas when I turned around and said to him, do you realise why I've got this skin colour? And he looked at me and I said, you think I should be proud of this skin colour? I said, I'm not. I said, I can't deny who I am and what it is. I said, but generations of my family in past were raped for this skin colour. And that's what I see when I look at my skin colour. So those other people who are in my classroom who had darker skin colour, the traditional Aboriginal features, the stereotype we say today, they to me were more Aboriginal, more proud of who they were than I was of my skin. He couldn't understand that. Could not understand or contemplate that fact of the skin colour.
Yeah, and that white men had raped family members in the past. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot of that non-Aboriginal people don't understand that.
Yes, They just think we should be proud of having fair skin.
Yeah.
No. If you're Aboriginal from your heart, not from the colour of your skin.
And when I was at school and we got, when I was in primary and beginning of high school, you got called black S and black C's and bungs and niggers and all that. And then when the money came in, it was a bit of ab study, and I think it was a $75 check that I got, and that was once a fortnight. And then they took 20 cents to cash that check in. And I used to think, well, why didn't they just give me the 55 cents?
Yeah, 75 cents, not $75.
But non-Aboriginal kids used to say, oh, you're lucky you get a check. Yeah. But I got that check once a fortnight, and every day those non-Aboriginal kids would be coming in with $2 or $5 or $1. Yeah. And that was 3 times a week or even 5 times a week.
That's right.
And I was getting this little check for 75 cents once a fortnight, and then it went up to $3 and they thought I was rich. And I thought, I can't work out where these fellas are coming from in their thinking.
You have that very jealous mentality. You have a very jealous mentality, even still today, of the ab study, not understanding that there's other government funding for people who are below that, threshold.
Well, both ab study and Oz study are the same thing.
Yes.
It was just that Aboriginal people weren't accessing the funding for education.
Yes.
So ab study and Oz study is the same. It still gets mean tested because I know I couldn't get it for my kids because I had that higher wage, so my kids couldn't get ab study.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of non-Aboriginal people don't understand that.
No.
That it's just the same.
There's that whole image thing around about, and those falsified rumours about what money we actually get as Aboriginal people. I remember a lady saying that we get money for our birthdays off the government, that Aboriginal people get money for having dogs. So that whole image.
And you think, where do they get that idea from?
Ridiculous. Yeah,
the government's not going to give people money for having dogs or for having their birthdays.
And for going to funerals. That's another one.
And it's a lot of common sense stuff. That you wonder, where do the non-Aboriginal people get these ideas from?
I remember working at a local school here in town, and a deputy principal, had got up the front in muster, and she said, "We're enrolling a new student today. His name's so and so." And she said to let you know where he comes from. His cousins were the ones that actually burnt down one of the local other schools in town. And I jumped up and I said, "Cousins?" And she said, "Yeah, it was his cousins who burnt down the other school." I said, "Well, if you're responsible for what your cousins do, that's fine, but I'm not responsible for every one of my cousins and what they do." So that boy, when enrolling into this school, is enrolled on his own merits. Not on his cousins,
he was already
his brothers and sisters
prejudiced already.
Yes, against him.
Because of his cousins, that he had nothing to do with what they did. But
so I think it's a subject, people look back and think, a question, are you responsible for what your cousins do? I'm not responsible for my cousins.
No.
Because I'm not even responsible for my brothers and sisters. You're responsible for you. You
look out for them and that, but you're not responsible if they go and do the wrong thing. You try to keep them from doing the wrong thing.
And you shouldn't be marked as that when going anywhere. You shouldn't be marked as that when going anywhere.
No.
Another one was that another DP had actually stood up a couple of weeks later and spoke about how two Aboriginal girls were truanting around the school. They'd actually come to school, but the rest of their class had gone for an excursion, and they didn't. One of the young ones hadn't got a note in. So the other cousin said, "Well, I'll stay with you at the school," because they were there by themselves. Now, for some reason, it was more comfortable for them to be at the school than actually go home. So they stayed at the school. Now, because none of their teachers were there, they walked around the school, and he chased them, and they hid behind a gum tree. And he got up and he actually said, the two girls walked around the school like no-hopers, like they had nothing to do, like they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And he said, then they ran and hid behind a white gum tree. He said, like I couldn't see two Aboriginal girls behind a white gum tree. To seriously stand there and listen to a DP, a deputy principal, say that, and then to...
Well, what was about that comment that offended you?
Well, all of it. That they're no-hopers. They're going to be walking around lost for the rest of their lives. That there was two Aboriginal girls behind a white gum tree. Why the colour? And the fact that the AREP, the anti-racism rep, who's based at the school, sat there and listened to him and did not do a thing. And neither did the rest of the teachers.
Yeah, and they didn't realise that it was a racist comment.
No, so in this day and age, this was last year, 2012, in this day and age, how could they just sit there and not respond? I got up and walked out and they knew why I was wild. But they should have done that. They should have got up and said, hold on, stop that. This is inappropriate because he's a DP. So, and my thinking is, okay, he's a DP. He's influencing other new teachers and new people thinking, this is the appropriate way to speak. Because he does it as a DP, why shouldn't he? And then the A rep is sitting there not even saying anything else in relation to it. Well, they did things after the fact, after I got out and walked out and they knew that I was wild, but it still shouldn't have... I should have sat there and waited to see if anybody else did anything.
Yeah.
So it's just...
It shouldn't have had it. It should have been solved within the school then and there on the spot.
On the spot.
Yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah.
And I was only a new worker there.
So that's kind of was your first impression of what the school was.
And the fact that how long had they been doing that in muster when other people... if he felt so comfortable in him being able to do that there, what other things have been said in that muster when I'm not there? What other things have been said in the past which made him comfortable that he could say that there and there?
Yeah.
There's a whole lesson there in it, isn't it? You could discuss why didn't the AREP do anything? Why didn't the principal do anything? He was sitting there at the time. Why didn't other teachers object to it? Why didn't other Aboriginal people who were sitting there object to it?
Yeah. And why didn't he see that as a racist comment?
Yes.
Or coming from his own hidden pedagogies?
Yes.
His own thinking?
Well, I mean, they, as a DP, obviously they went through a cultural awareness, the whole cultural awareness process. I mean, that's a compulsory part of education.
And even as a teacher, you're asked to look at your own hidden pedagogies and not put them onto other people or other students. So you can't push your ideas or your opinions onto other people.
No.
So in that way, it was wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a whole, something that we're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Auntie Beth. I'm sure you'll come back later and tell me some more yarns. Thank you.
Thank you.